Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to our weekly Facebook Live here on Texas Latino Conservatives. We must start off by apologizing that we were unable to get to you yesterday because, as we understand, there was internet problems all over Houston where we're based, and even Atlanta is what we hear. So anyway, we moved the program over to today. Thank you for joining us today. If you were watching yesterday, we apologize. And I'm up in the treasure state of Montana, and my partner in crime, Andrea Gomez, is in Houston. Buenos días, Andrea.
Buenos días, Orlando. Aquí te extrañamos, pero bueno, ya sabemos que te encanta Montana, que la estás pasando súper bien. Ya nos mostraste, nos hiciste un paneo de el panorama que estás disfrutando allá en Montana, así que qué envidia.
Right? It was cold up here last night. I think it was 17 degrees. So anyway,
Wow.
it's a nice change from Texas. But yesterday was Veterans Day, and we
And thanks for
produced
your
and
service,
posted.
Orlando.
You're welcome, and thank you for recognizing it. But we produced a nice video that we put up on our Facebook Live page and on our web page. But we want to share that with you now because it's a nice tribute and a way to say thank you to Texas Tejanos that served in the U.S. military. So, Mr. Producer, if you want to roll the video, go ahead.
Well, unfortunately,
Okay.
we cannot hear the video, so we have technical issues today with the video. But definitely, it's a beautiful video that if you guys wanna, it's already posted on our Facebook. So if you guys wanna go and check it out after our live, it's been having a lot of comments and a lot of positive response from people that has been watching the video. The video is beautiful.
Okay, well, let's move on to our special guest today. We have two. As we know, Texas, and particularly down around the border, had some real sea changes with respect to the election. A lot of our Tejanos down along the Texas border went red this year. And that was because of a lot of hard work by a lot of people, including our next guest. His name is Alfredo Arellano, who is the chairman of the Republican Party in Maverick County. Many of you may not know where Maverick County is, but many of you know where Eagle Pass, Texas is. So, Freddie, welcome to the program.
Thank you for having me.
Alfredo, bienvenido.
Thank you. Gracias.
And I was reading that you're the youngest one.
Yes, at the moment, I am the youngest Republican Party chair to represent any party within the 254 counties here in Texas.
That's
Wow.
why he has so much energy to go recruit people to vote red. So tell us a little bit, Freddie, of what you've been doing and why you think that so many people in Maverick County voted Republican this time as compared to previous years before you got involved as chairman of the party.
Well, before, I would have to say it was because we had no party structure, no party foundation. And that doesn't just apply to Maverick County, it applies throughout the border. You know, Zapata County, Starr County, which are also highly hyped in the media because we shifted significantly to the right, is because there was no party foundation. And this year, this election cycle, we did. And so what we ended up doing here is, obviously due to COVID, we had to adapt to the way we campaigned here. So we decided to switch things up a bit, and we did what a lot of people have been doing for birthdays, quinceañeras, things like that, which have been drive-through events. So what we would end up doing is we would give people to pick up signs. They would come by to a designated location, and we'd give them the signs for all our Republican candidates, from President Trump all the way to Judge Yanta, who was at the end of the ticket. And we would give them little bags full of bumper stickers and buttons, but we'd also give them literature for the Republican candidates and the differences between the Republican Party and the Democrat Party. Because what we ended up having to do to substitute block walking is kind of rely on these people that are invested within the Republican Party to take time out of their day to come pick up signs and have them sort of do the campaigning for us. And we saw that it had a significant mark here in Maverick County.
Alfredo,
Before the election, we had.
Okay, yeah. We want to know also, I mean, you can finish your sentence, but we want to know a little bit about you. And I'm curious, like, how did you get involved in politics, and what was your motivation?
The reason I got involved in politics and my motivation is the same reason that we had high turnout for the Republican candidates here in Maverick County, and that was because of President Trump. Before 2016, I would consider myself a Democrat. But as I started looking into the candidates specifically and the parties themselves, I sort of realized that the candidates that I was supporting weren't the candidates that aligned with my values. So from there, I just decided to get involved in politics little by little. I started off by actually being a student election clerk in the 2018 midterm primaries. I actually ran the Republican candidate booth here in Maverick County in 2018 for all our candidates. And if I'm not mistaken, it was 18 of them that we ran campaigns for. And, you know, the local party wasn't really involved. It was me and a group of other volunteers that had no real association to the local party, but wanted to be more involved. So ever since then, I kind of said, you know what, we need to change the way that we do things here. So I took it upon myself. I talked to the county chairman, and on my 18th birthday, as soon as I turned 18 that day, I assumed the mantle as Republican Party chairman for Maverick County. So from there, we started kicking things into high gear by appointing precinct chairman, social media up and running. Before the election, we had 400 individuals that liked our Facebook page. Out of the blue, since August of this year, we had a whopping 1,000 people more like our page. So right now we're at 1,400 people that like our Facebook page. And primarily, it's people that live within the community. And I'm grateful for the support that we've gotten from them, because we haven't seen numbers like we have this year. And I don't think I would have guessed that we would have gotten these numbers that we did.
Freddie, what do we need to do as a party? Because there's a lot of speculation in the media about, first of all, everybody in the media is looking at Florida and Texas and then Arizona and to some extent Nevada, Clark County. But the race was very tight, but there was a big shift in the Latino vote. And a lot of people are saying, number one, that the Latino vote is not monolithic. Of course, we all know that, right? Because just on this screen, we have a Colombian, we have a Cuban, and then we have a gentleman of Mexican descent, but is considered a Tejano. So we're not monolithic. We all know that. This is a new revelation to the media. But the question for you is, what do we do in Texas? in the next 2 years to make sure that the gains that we made down in Hidalgo, down in Star, and down in Maverick, and down in Valverde, how do we keep those? And more importantly, how do we grow them? And how do we bring young people like you into the movement?
So for that, what we're going to need from not just the state party, but the national party are outreach groups specifically for the border. You know, I've heard that we have a lot of outreach groups that go here and go there, but you don't really see one. I don't see one from the state party or the national party that's in Hidalgo County. I don't see one here in Maverick, Valverde County. I don't see one in Star, Zapata, or Cameron County. And we need to focus throughout the border because we did make significant gains. And if we want to keep it, we need to continue educating folks about what the Republican Party stands for. Because Republicans didn't show up overnight just because. You know, take Maverick County, for example. We had about 13,000 people that came out to vote in 2016. 10,000 of those voted for Hillary Clinton. 2,800 voted for President Trump. This election cycle, with 5,602 people that came out and filled out a ballot, 6,881 were for President Donald J. Trump, 8,324 were for Joe Biden. With those numbers, the 2,000 individuals that we saw vote this election cycle compared to 2016 voted for President Trump. Not only that, we also got about 2,000 folks that voted for Hillary Clinton that voted for President Trump. People are walking away from the Democrat Party. But if we want to continue this momentum, these gains, we need to continue our outreach. We cannot just stop right now because, we made sure that the Rio Grande shifted about 20, 30% to the right. We need to continue with the outreach to make sure that we keep the gains that we've made. You know, take my House District race, House District 74. A Democrat won this seat, but it is worth noting that President Trump won this House District with 53% of the vote. That's significant. Tony Gonzalez, our congressman-elect, he's keeping the 23rd Congressional District of Texas red, and by a substantial margin. He was considered an underdog in this race who won a 9-way primary, went through a runoff, a recount, completely underfunded compared to his Democrat opponent, nearly 4-1, and he beat her by about 10,000 votes. And that's because she came close to winning this district last cycle by 926 votes. So we need to continue with the outreach to make sure that folks realize the importance of the Republican Party and how they align with their values. Another district, Congressional District 15, Monica de la Cruz Hernandez came close to defeating Vicente Fernandez. So we need to make sure that we have this coalition to continue going. Because if we don't, we're going to lose the gains that we made. And I do not foresee us winning if we don't continue this outreach. I, for one, would like to see a Congresswoman-elect, Monica de la Cruz Hernandez, as opposed to the incumbent Congressman Gonzalez. I don't want to see Democrats representing the border because we've seen that the border community is ready for a change. And if we're ready for that change, it's going to take not only the effort of the voters, but also the effort of the parties to reach out to these voters. And that's something that I commend the Trump campaign for doing, especially with their Latino for Trump coalition. If it wasn't for them, I don't think we would have won the 23rd Congressional District. I don't think we would have won Florida's 26th and 27th Congressional District, which we flipped from Democrat hands to Republican hands. So it's going to take a lot of outreach and a lot of funding for the party, the national and the state party, to invest down here in the border. Because that's something that I think a lot of us here in the border can say is that we were completely underfunded. And I think if we had more funding from the state and national party, I guarantee you that I think we could have flipped the border completely.
Alfredo, what do you think is the biggest? Okay.
Go ahead, Andrea.
What do you think is the biggest challenge that we're gonna be facing for the next 2 years, knowing that we're in the middle of the pandemic and we don't know when this is gonna go away, and with everything that is going on in the country?
The biggest thing that we face right now as a, you know, as the country in terms of national parties, it's going to be unification. That's the biggest thing at this point. Regardless of how things go, it's going to be you know, unification of the country. And by the way that things look, I don't foresee it happening under a president, Joe Biden, because as we've seen from the Democrat Party, they've been, you know, tossing out there that, oh, make sure that we save these photos, these tweets, these Facebook posts of these Trump supporters, because we need to make sure that they never have a job anymore within politics or within the public office. You know, and the fact that, you know, the self-proclaimed president-elect Joe Biden hasn't condemned his own party for saying things like that, and especially their most vocal members like AOC, you know, it truly shows how dominated this president-elect would be in terms of when he would represent us in the presidential office. He's not going to do anything for the people. He's just going to listen to the loudest members of his party. He's just going to be a puppet for them.
Freddie, I have a question for you because you just brought in AOC, which the media pays a lot of attention to AOC. But I'm going to share with you a personal assessment that I have with respect to the AOC ilk. And let's say those of us that are, you know, South Texas Tejanos. AOC came down to Texas, as you know, and made a big deal about the detention centers. And, you know, because we had waves and waves of tens of thousands of undocumented folks moving up to the Texas border, which was all planned and staged, as you know. And she was very critical about our Border Patrol. I believe that there is a big difference between the urban liberal Latino, which tend very far left, kind of like revolutionaries like Che Guevara back in South America that ultimately came to Cuba. And there's a difference as compared to hardworking conservative Tejanos in Texas, along the, you know, in New Mexico, in Arizona. So do you see that difference between the rural Latino and the urban Latino?
I do. I really do see it. You know, take Bexar County, for example. We had a bunch of great candidates that were specifically in Hispanic areas of Bexar County, and they really didn't make as much gains as we would have seen down here in the border. So I think that there is a really big difference between here, the rural parts of the Hispanic community, and those within the urban areas.
One other question, and then I'll let Andrea ask a question. When you talk about outreach, can you be a little more specific? What would you like to see, let's say, the Texas Latino conservatives do with respect to Maverick County? How can we help you grow the party and bring more conservative Tejanos into the fold?
So with that, it's going to take a massive, what I mean by outreach, it's going to take a variety of things. Because, you know, I'm the kind of person that I realized it's not going to be the same here for Maverick as it is for Zapata. You know, a county of 60,000 compared to a county of about 15, 20,000 aren't going to be the same. But with respect to some generalizations within the border, it's going to take knocking on doors and telling folks, you know, this is what our party stands for. It's going to take blasting everything that we possibly can on social media with sponsored ads. You know, we're going to have to do phone banking, phone calls to make sure that people realize that there is a difference between the parties. And that's what I mean by outreach. Because at this point, that's what we did heavily. You know, we tried the best that we could with what we were given under the circumstances, and it paid off. You know, President Trump went from 2,800 to 6,881. You know, those are phenomenal gains. We increased his numbers by 250%. And that's what it's going to take. It's going to take, you know, extending our arms into communities that we just think, oh, are significantly blue. You know, this is the first election cycle that we flipped 2 precincts, which is since 3C from voting for Hillary Clinton and were Democrats down ballot. They voted for them about with 60% of the vote. This time, Republicans dominated these precincts with 60% of the vote. And we've seen that people are ready for a change because these numbers are shifting significantly to the right. And you can see them from 2012 to 2016 to 2020. We're ready for a change. And it's going to take us reaching out to these communities that we thought would never vote Democrat. You know, one of the precincts that shocked me was Precinct 2 in general. Precincts 2A, 2B, 2C, and 2D. I thought it would be the most Democrat areas, and it turns out that it was the most Republican area. President Trump lost it by about 140 votes with 3,300 ballots cast in that precinct.
Alfredo, I mean, for sure is a lot to do from now on, a lot of work to do from now on to keep Texas red, but not only to keep Texas red, but to have Latino representation. I think we don't have representation. You know, we are the community that is growing the most in this country and in this state for sure. And the census is going to show that too. But what we can do as a community to help others, Latinos, to have representation in our community?
So what it's going to take in that aspect is to, you know, reach out to candidates. And not only that, you know, we saw the numbers here. We have 6,881 individuals that voted for President Trump. When it comes to the primary, people tend to vote in the Democrat primary here locally because they think that, oh, if I run as a Democrat, I can win. I can't win as a Republican. These numbers don't lie. If you run as a Republican, you can win. But we also need people to vote in the Republican primary. That's what it's going to take to get these strong candidates in. Because if we only let a small group vote for who's going to represent you in the halls of Congress, in the Senate, in the Texas legislature, then you're not going to get the results that the district needs or looks like. Because you have all these individuals that are voting in the Democrat primary instead of voting in the Republican primary, which they should be voting in based on these numbers.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly agree. We have to convince those that came out and supported President Trump to get involved in, you know, putting up great candidates in the Republican primary, and more importantly, actually campaigning and working and voting in Republican primaries. I think that's going to be the real challenge. And we're looking forward to helping you, Freddie. You know, as a PAC, we targeted 24 state House districts. And just for everybody watching, you know, a lot of people are going to say, well, what does Texas Latino Conservatives as a political action committee do? Well, our PAC actually gets involved in elections. So we targeted about 24 Texas House of Representative seats because it was important to us to keep the Texas legislature. We all know it's important because we get to redistrict again in the next legislative session after the census comes out. So we wanted redistricting to be in the hands of conservatives in the Texas House. And of the 24 districts we got involved in, we did digital media, we did 4 mail pieces, we block walked, we had teletown hall meetings, we did live phone banking, we did texting. And in those districts, we had figured out that we had about anywhere between, you know, 1,000 to maybe 2,900 what we call low propensity Hispanic conservative voters. These were voters that had voted conservative at one point, but for whatever reason sort of fell off of the political map. So we decided to reach out to these people and touch them in significant ways through multimedia, you know, like I said, mail and digital and telephones. And it worked because in many of the districts, by the way, we won 14, I believe, of the districts that we were targeting. And we didn't lose any ground in the Texas legislature. And so it worked. In a lot of those Texas House districts that we focused in, the margin of victory for our conservative candidates was the margin that we thought if we got involved and encouraged those Latino conservatives to come out, that they would make the difference. And that's exactly what happened. So we're real proud of the work we did. But, you know, this is, as you know, Freddie, we're starting a new election cycle. We now got to get geared up for 2022 and find those great candidates. So we're looking forward as a political action committee to helping the candidates that you recruit down in Maverick County. And as you know, Texas Latino Conservatives has a nonprofit, an LLC, which actually engages in education. Our LLC, the nonprofit, does not advocate for a candidate or advocate for positions. We are simply an educational branch of the organization. And so in that organization, we're going to have at least 4 training sessions where we train young conservatives on how to be precinct chairs, how to be political activists, how to run campaigns, how to become a campaign manager, how to talk to the media, how to become a candidate, how to raise money, how to prepare your ethics commission filings. So that's what we're going to be focused on for the next several months, is finding those great candidates that chairmen across the state of Texas like you, Freddie, are going to refer to us. And we're going to be in Dallas probably early January with one of our great training sessions. We call it Leadership Latino. And if you go to our webpage, TexasLatinoConservatives.com, you will see a tab on the far right that says Leadership Latino. If you're interested in becoming a candidate, becoming involved, running a precinct, running a campaign, managing a campaign, go there, sign up for our next class. We're going to be in Dallas, but we're going to be back down in the Rio Grande area. We're going to be down in South Texas. We're going to be in San Antonio. So we got 4 or 5 of these sessions coming up. So we want to encourage you to participate with all of the educational activities that the PAC engages in. So Freddie, we're extremely proud of you. We're proud of your leadership. I've watched you over the course of the last 2 years. You're an incredible chairman down there. And I know the banner says chairman of Maverick County. And I guess we will call you the chairman of Maverick County, but you're actually the chairman of the Republican Party of Maverick County. And we know you're going to be up for re-election, so we're going to make sure that you win and stay in for another 2 years. So, Andrea, you have anything to say to Freddie before we let him go and bring Mayra in?
Yeah, the last thing I want to hear from him is how to deal with the situation. You were saying that up to 2016, you considered yourself for the other party, or how to deal with this stereotype that people and the media and everybody think that the Hispanics are for the Democratic Party.
So for me, what it took was I had to do extensive research. I'm the kind of individual that I don't just blindly follow what I'm supposed to do. You know, I'll even go against my own party at times if I feel that something is wrong. But what it's going to take from individuals is, you know, to research, you know, check up what the Republican Party stands for, what the Democrat Party stands for. You don't have to be a Democrat just because you live on the border. You know, we've been through that stereotype, and we were even told, you know, y'all are wasting your time here in Maverick County. It's 90% Democrat. And up till 2016, it pretty much was 90% Democrat. But based on the results that we saw, we're not going to be Democrat for long.
Okay, Freddie. Well, thank you very much for taking part of your busy day to be with us. I know that you're also going to school, and so you're juggling quite a lot of balls are up in the air. You know, chairman of the party, running elections, going to further your education. So we want to wish you the best of luck. Continue to reach out to our PAC if you need anything. Let us know, and we are going to roll up our sleeves and come down and help you out in Maverick County. So we look forward to that. So, Andrea, do we have Mayra Flores?
Not yet. She's almost ready. She's almost ready. We know that she's right. Very busy and she's been very active. And you know, talking about Latino leadership, for sure, she was part of the program. And look at what she's doing these days. She's doing fantastic. And also, she's part of our famous Abuelita commercial.
Right. So, yeah, this gives us an opportunity to talk a little bit about Leadership Latino. As you know, Mayra Flores, who is quite the, let's say, influencer in politics down in Hidalgo County, was one of our students about a year ago when the Texas Latino Conservatives went down to South Texas and trained a handful of our young Latinos through Leadership Latino. And she just took off. I mean, she became extremely active down in Hidalgo County, has tens and tens and tens of thousands of followers on social media. And she actually appears on the commercial, on our website, on our banner. She's the granddaughter in our Abuelita commercial. As if you've watched our Abuelita commercial, that was a spot that we produced to let the Latino community know that these are our values. You know, hard work, individual initiative. We don't need the government to give us clothing and housing and assign a job to us. No, we determine that ourselves. We want government to do what the Constitution says, and it is the enumerated powers, right? Coin the money, provide for the national common defense of the country, vote on treaties, administer things in the U.S. Congress, but stay out of our hair here in the state of Texas. We're perfectly capable of taking care of ourselves. So, Mayra was a real influencer down in South Texas, and we hope to get her on in the next few minutes so that you can meet her and find out what she did. I mean, and as Freddie said, every county along the border is different. So what happens in Maverick County and what works in Maverick County doesn't necessarily translate to Starr County or Hidalgo County or even Harris County where we're located. So hopefully we'll get Mayra on here pretty soon.
Orlando, we have
Hi.
Mayra. Hello, Mayra.
I'm trying to move the camera. Give me 1 second.
Okay,
and
as you can tell, I'm wearing red lipstick only because of you. You're the famous red lipstick always on your pictures, on your videos, and I said I need to wear red lipstick today.
I don't know what's going on with my camera. I can't get it still. I apologize.
Right there. Just hold it.
Wow,
Perfect.
look at you with the flag in the background. Mayra, how are you? How you been?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. Thank you for your patience.
No, thank you for your time. I know we have technical issues yesterday with everybody's internet, but finally we have it right today. So tell us, first of all, tell us a little bit about you. You know, we were talking a little bit about you, but tell us a little bit about you and tell us from the time that you participate in the Leadership Latino till now, because you are now like a movie star.
Thank you. And thank y'all for everything, for y'all support. I am today doing what I'm doing because of y'all's great leadership. So y'all have been a true inspiration. And the Hidalgo GOP here in Hidalgo County has also been very supportive and welcome my ideas from the moment I came in this office and decided to start the Hispanic Outreach Chair, which hadn't been done prior. And it made a huge difference to have someone that is bilingual and be able to talk to our community, to a lot of people that are not able to understand English. There's a lot of people here in South Texas that don't understand English. It was important to have someone that was bilingual to go and speak out to these communities and talk about the conservative values and talk about the platform that Republican Party stands for, which was very important because most people here in South Texas did not understand the platforms of the Democrat Party or the Republican Party. They voted Democrat simply because that's what they were told. They have been faithfully Democrat for all their lives, so they just didn't understand, the difference between each party. And it's very important for me to inform my community about both platforms. I'm not trying to, change people, but I just want them to know that the Democrat Party is standing against their values, because I know what values they have. They're very conservative values, the same values I was raised. And once I explained to them that the Republican Party is pro-life and that the Democrat Party is pro-abortion, they are awakened by that, because they had no idea that all this time they had been voting for the party that supports abortion, which is what they stand against.
Mayra, I asked Freddie the same question in Maverick County, and I'm going to ask you. What do we need to do as an organization to support you guys down in Hidalgo County to make sure that we retain the gains that we made? And more importantly, how do we grow the gains? In other words, how do we recruit more young people like you? In other words, how do we find the next Mayra Flores to be the outreach chair of Hidalgo County? And more importantly, how do we get Mayra Flores to run for state senate or the Texas House of Representatives or some other office?
I'm thinking about it. I'm seriously thinking about it. So that's something I have my eyes on 2022. So we'll see what happens with that. But the most important thing I think is funding. We lack a lot of funding here, and we raise our own money here in Hidalgo. And we do all kinds of events to try to raise money and to be able to pay the rent, electricity. So we're asking the party also for more funding to be able to continue moving the needle. We did it with very little funding, and it's something that I'm very proud of our community here, because we did this all on our own. We raised the money to be able to do that. Our chairwoman, Adrian Peña, she's to me one of the most hardworking chairwoman in the country, because she did this in a blue district, blue, 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 and now it's purple. Zapata County was flipped as well, red. Starr County, we saw amazing numbers. 47% voted for Trump. So every county here in South Texas went up the percentage in support towards the Republican Party. So we just have to continue doing what we're doing and more. So we're trying to reach a lot more young people also that are bilingual, which is very important to come and join our party.
One of the questions I have for you in one of the comments that I made to Freddie is that there's a difference in our South Texas Latino community and the urban Latinos like AOC, which tend to be sort of the Che Guevara wannabes, revolutionaries. You know, they don't believe in the Constitution. I don't think any of them's really ever read the Constitution or understands what
No.
that document is about or what it means and how it protects us. They're about, government telling us how much fuel we can burn, government telling us what thermostat setting we have in our own homes, government telling us what kind of job we should have, that they want to eliminate the petrochemical industry, the pipeline workers, the refinery workers, and they want to create, jobs retrofitting buildings in urban areas. I mean, just the most ridiculous stuff you've ever heard of. So do you see that? Do you see a difference in the rural, hardworking Tejano Latino community of Texas versus the urban Latinos?
Oh yes, there's a huge difference. South Texas is is just a lack of information. That's what the problem is here in South Texas. Most are conservative, have strong conservative values. They're Republican, they just don't know it. And when we give them the information, they do walk away. Most people that I've been able to talk to, I do leave them either thinking about it or, you know what, you're right. I should be putting God first. I should be putting my family first. I should be putting my country first and not a political party. So when we reach out to our community, we are able to convince a lot of people. There is people who do question and say, look, I will do my research about the things that you mentioned. I will think about it. It is very rare that I'll have someone be disrespectful, rude towards us. It's very rare. It happens, but it's very rare here. Also, most people here have loved ones in Border Patrol, customs, police officers. We support our law enforcement here. Most Border Patrol agents here are Hispanic. So when you see the Democrat attacking Border Patrol, you are attacking the Hispanic community because most of our agents are Hispanic. We have police officers here that they're being attacked by the Democrat Party. So they're also attacking our community. So they saw that and did not like it. We do not like no one messing with our family members, our sons, our daughters, our friends, it's just not the same Democrats here that you see in New York or in California. We just lack information. And when we go out there and give them all this knowledge, they're able to realize that they've been supporting the wrong party. So we just need more people, more boots on the ground to be able to go and knock doors and talk to the community.
Might
You
I
know,
ask Alfredo?
hang on, Andrea. I want to hold on that thought real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but this is
No, that's
important
fine.
because, you know, on my personal Facebook page, I posted a photograph of the leaders of the Democratic Party in Harris County marching in downtown Houston with a huge banner that said "Abolish ICE." And in the background, you could see "Defund Police." You know, these are people that don't revere our United States military. They have utter disdain for our law enforcement who actually serve us in the community. And they have nothing but disrespect and an arrogant attitude towards our ICE agents, which, as Mayra says, is mostly made up of our Latino men and women who serve valiantly along a vast area of the Chihuahua Desert.
Yes,
Let me tell
sir.
you, being a border agent is not an easy job. People underestimate how difficult it is to be a U.S. Border Patrol agent. And I don't know if you saw it, but CBS News came down and did an interview in Houston, which aired,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it was a week ago Saturday, but one of the comments I made was that exact comment, that what did the Democrats expect in South Texas when they trash our military, when they
That's
trash
right.
our ICE agents, and when they trash and threaten to defund our police? Did they really think that that's a winning message in the Latino community? And I am so thankful that AOC and Lena Hidalgo in Harris County are continuing that trajectory of telling the Latinos that serve this country how horrible they and their fathers and their sons and their grandparents and uncles are. Keep it up, guys, because Texas is going to stay red.
Yes, no, AOC is a huge, it's the biggest gift for the Republican Party. Actually, let's give her a bigger platform so we could keep exposing them. So, no, she's the biggest gift to our party. So, no, by all means, let's give her all the attention she wants so we can
Yeah.
expose them. But no, definitely they do not reflect our values. And that is why we saw this huge percentage of Latinos supporting the Republican Party. And it's just the beginning. I saw family members that were Democrats 6 months ago that texted me and said, "Hey, just wanted you to know that I voted Republican." And I was in complete shock because these are family members that were attacking me not too long ago. But it was just so rewarding to see them realizing that this party is just nowhere near the Democrat Party from decades and decades ago. They have gone so far left, radical, socialist. It's a party that I do, in my heart, believe that want to destroy our country. And in my opinion, they're just, I see them as an enemy in my country. I'm not worried about China. I'm not worried about all these other things. I'm worried about it, but not as worried as I am with the people that we have here that is trying to destroy our country within, like the Democrat Party.
Mayra, I was asking Alfredo because Alfredo was mentioning that up to 2016 he was, thinking, and he was raised in the Democratic Party, and you had a similar story. And tell us that transition, what it took you to realize that your values are not with them, and what is the biggest challenge that we face with this generation?
Well, in 2008, it was the first time I voted. So I remember asking my dad, who should I vote for? And my dad said Democrat. I didn't ask why or what each party stand for. I just voted Democrat because that's what my family members told me, and didn't even do my own research. I think I was like 18 years old or something. And it was 2 years later that I started doing my own research. Okay, is he doing what he promised he would do for the Latino community? No, he didn't. So I saw that not only he didn't do what he promised our community he was going to do, he was actually hurting our community, the Democrat Party. And I also saw that the values that they stood for, I didn't believe in that. And for me, it wasn't hard at all to walk away from the party. I just walked away. I said, well, this party doesn't stand for my values. I'm just going to walk away. I didn't think anything of it. And I was never attacked for it until President Donald Trump got elected. I was never attacked before by family or or friends at all. It really started after President Trump got elected. They said, "Are you still going to be a Republican after he was elected?" I was like, "Of course. This is not about Trump. This is about my values. This is about what I stand for. And no matter who's president in the Republican Party, he's standing for those values. And that comes first for me. And that should come first for everyone. Our faith, our values should be priority, not a political party."
What are some of the issues, Mayra, let's just say, in Hidalgo County that are important to the community? Because you say, well, the Democrats didn't do this and didn't do that. What should the Republicans be doing? What are the biggest issues, let's say, if you could get the ear of a state representative or your local county judge? I mean, what are the top issues you see in your community?
Well, we have a very high poverty rate compared to the rest of the state, and we also pay higher taxes. So if we bring the poverty rate down, we'll be able to bring taxes down. So we have a higher unemployment here, and all that is not going to change if we continue voting on Democrat. So all these areas, there's areas like in Bronzeville that are completely abandoned. In San Benito, there's businesses completely closed on Sam Houston that haven't been opened in decades. It's completely abandoned. We're talking about Harlingen as well. We're talking about McAllen. We're talking about Alton. There's Alton, Texas as well. There's just so much poverty here that is not being addressed. And the only people making money here is our congressmen and the Democrats. The people here are not being able to keep money in their pockets because they're being taken that money away. So it's the moment that we start giving people their money back and we start rising the poverty. We need to bring it down and rising them up, motivate them to what is it that they need. Do they need more jobs as well? A lot of people from here leave South Texas for better jobs. We need to bring better jobs to South Texas so they're able to stay here where they want to stay and not have to leave for better opportunities, because that's what happens. A lot of people here do leave because they feel that there's not much opportunities here in South Texas.
Great. So economic development is a big issue.
Yeah, not only that, and we also need
it's not just our values.
And we also need leaders. And Mayra, I wanted you to talk about this transition that it took you from Leadership Latino and what we can tell the community, because we definitely need Latino representation. We need better leaders, but it's a lot to do from now on.
There's a lot to do. This is just the beginning, but it's not the moment to stay quiet anymore. It's the moment that we need to start voicing our opinions and standing for our faith, standing for our values, and not be afraid anymore. It's time to support those that do have a platform. We have Monica de la Cruz, who was very close. And if it wasn't for voter fraud, because I do believe there was voter fraud here in our area, she would have won. So that's something that we're working on as well, because it's real in South Texas. Politiqueras, it's real. People are getting paid to go vote Democrat. We see people are being given gifts. It's happening, and we just need to find, prove, and that's what we're working on. And they will be held accountable for what they did on this election to prevent from that happening on 2022.
Right. Well, Mayra, we want to thank you for taking time out to be with us. So we really appreciate everything that you've done and are going to be doing in Hidalgo County and the Rio Grande Valley. We're very proud of you.
Thank you.
We hope to be involved down there with you, and let us know what we can do to support you. We're going to have some more training sessions through Leadership Latino. So if you know any young folks down in the Rio Grande Valley that want to take the same class that you did, encourage them to go to our website, TexasLatinoConservatives.com, and click on Leadership Latino, and keep going. I mean, we think you're a star down there, and I can't wait to see you in elective office one day. Andrea, ¿Quieres despedirnos de esta semana y hablar sobre lo que vamos a hacer la semana que viene?
Y ojalá podamos también hacer el bus tour, que lo teníamos planeado para este año y no se pudo. Y ojalá lo podamos hacer el próximo año y poder visitarte.
Claro que sí.
Y visitar a Alfredo y a todos estos condados importantes para lo que estamos haciendo aquí en el Texas Latino Conservatives. Mayra, gracias, te queremos mucho.
Muchas gracias. Igualmente, yo los quiero, muchas gracias por su apoyo, Dios me los bendiga.
Hasta luego.
Hasta luego, Mayra. Y bueno, Orlando.
Hasta luego, bye.
Bye bye. ¿Cuándo regresas, Orlando? Es importante saber cuándo regresas. ¿Hasta cuándo
Ya
te quedas allá en Montana?
Ya regreso el martes para empezar la tarea para asegurar que el futuro del estado de Texas sea conservador, que sabemos todos que nosotros los latinos somos conservadores, no somos izquierdistas, socialistas, comunistas, no estamos en contra de la policía, el ejército, los agentes de inmigración, todos los tejanos que trabajan duro para proteger esta nación y este estado. Los apoyamos, los felicitamos, estamos con ustedes y vamos a crecer este partido que a vez en cuando se ha negado un poco compartir con la comunidad hispana los valores de los republicanos, pero ya como vemos, tenemos a Freddy Arellano, tenemos a Mayra Flores, tenemos a la organización de nosotros que va a presentarle los valores conservadores, los valores de los republicanos a toda la comunidad hispana en el estado de Texas. Así que estamos muy entusiasmados, estamos muy emocionados para esa tarea en el futuro, Andrea, y eso es lo que vamos a hacer. So, yep, that's what we're going to do. We've got a lot of work ahead of us to share our values with the rest of the Tejanos in the state of Texas. It's a massive state, so we still got a lot of land to cover, a lot of people to touch. And so we're going to be very active over the next several months and making sure that we, let the Latino community know that their values are our values. And, that was the message we took, Andrea, to the voters of South Texas is simply vote your values. If you're for defunding the police, if you're anti-military, if you're anti-ICE, go ahead. If you're for the socialists telling you how to live your life, if you're for abortion, if you're for destroying the family unit, there's a party for you. But if you're for the traditional values, you need to be with us. And we saw the results of that. So, Andrea, I'll kick it back to you in Houston, and we'll see you guys next week in town.
Thank you, Orlando. See you next Wednesday here at TLC Live, as every Wednesday at 11 más o menos. And we'll hope to see you here in Houston very soon. And hope to see you guys next Wednesday. For now, bye-bye, and visit our website.